Welcome to another amazing episode of Pure Minds, Pure Energy, Enlightenment Sessions with Nate and PMC. I'm your host, Nate Zeleznick, one of the only American master trainers of the ancient Indonesian royal system of breathwork, meditation, healing, energy building, martial arts, and extrasensory perception of the Merpati Putih system, and the founder of the Integrated Ascension Method, or IAM for short. Today, I am so honored to host the brilliant Cory, a visionary leader in consciousness studies, energy medicine, and groundbreaking science. Caroline is an award-winning filmmaker, an author, and the founder of the Omnium method. This is a revolutionary approach to meditation and healing. Her lifelong journey began with profound extrasensory experiences, leading her to deeply explore the nature of reality, human potential, and the mechanics of the universe. Caroline's work is a bridge between ancient wisdom and modern science. Collaborating with world-renowned institutions like Harvard and Stanford, she has conducted groundbreaking experiments validating the power of consciousness to influence our health and the physical world. Her films, including Superhuman, The Invisible Made Visible, which my former company was part of, another one called Among Us, and most recently, A Tear in the Sky, have captivated audiences worldwide, tackling profound topics such as mind over matter and the UFO phenomenon. So prepare to be inspired as we dive deep into Caroline's transformative insights, her groundbreaking research, and how her teachings empower all of us to tap into our own superhuman potential. Caroline, it is an honor and blessing to have you with us. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Nate. How have you been?
I'm so good. If I were any better, it might be illegal. Exactly.
Because you and I
So,
worked on the film together, in Superhuman. We
yeah,
showcased, some of your work, and the
yeah.
film was so successful, as you know.
Oh, when you go on to Netflix and Amazon Prime, and now it's all over Gaia. I mean, you're talking like the biggest platforms in the world, and rightfully so. Everything that you showcase, not only my company, but the other amazing people that were on that show, that's exactly what the world in this very scientific society really needs, is people like you who are willing to challenge the status quo of what everybody thinks is possible and show that it's actually I'm possible, and get the right people to validate this on film to be able to have more people say, wow, okay, superpowers are real, but they're not actually, as you know, maybe future human powers, but there's something that's inside us. It's not like we got irradiated and now somebody's special. It's cultivating the things that are naturally within us. So y- you, you were born very, I'm going to say special, but in a good way. Your extrasensory experiences began when you were really young. So, how did these early encounters really shape your path forward in consciousness studies and energy medicine?
Well, it started out really at the age of 5. I had this amazing experience where I was just kind of there, and all of a sudden I saw these beings. It was a lot of light, the whole room filled with light, and it felt very familiar. It felt like, oh, this is where I'm from. This is how it's supposed. So it was very organic, And so what happened was all of a sudden I felt merged in this light with these beings, and I started to kind of hear things telepathically. And of course, when you're 5, you don't know what's going on, right? You just kind of go with it, but because it felt so comfortable and so familiar and so amazing, I wasn't scared or anything. I was like, oh, I know this. And so what happened was, at that time, what basically was happening was I was tapping back into my original lineage, so to speak, like my bigger consciousness where I had come from, and it's like basically I was downloading this information spontaneously. So, and I heard and I saw and understood that the beings were saying, that's how you communicate telepathically. And that connection never stops. And everybody has that connection. Like that's kind of the law of nature, you know? And so, and they said, but you have to ask for it. They said, focus on what your mind is doing, what your brain is doing, and do it again and ask for that same thing to happen again in order to maintain that connection. And so, I'm 5 years old, right? I'm like, my brain, like, do this, do this. I didn't know what it was doing, but I kind of knew to focus on what it was doing and basically saying, yes, I want this, because it just felt so good. It felt so organic. And so, and that was it. And they left, and I didn't think anything of it at the time. People say, well, did you tell your parents or not? I mean, I didn't say anything because I thought like it's natural and it's normal. And if anything, like the parents felt like, who are these people? It
Mm.
felt more like fake, and that felt more like the real truth kind of a thing. So anyway, it was later as I grew up that I realized, like, wait, like what just happened there? Like, okay, that wasn't like just common or something. I knew there was something special. And I realized that basically I just had reconnected with like the larger consciousness of who you are, and that everybody's like that. And we just have to understand that you are continuously connected with the larger aspect of your being, and that flow between the two happens organically as long as you ask for it. That's what they were telling me. Focus on what your brain is doing and like do it again. They're basically teaching me intention. Like focus on what you want and say you want this. So it was later that I was having all these experiences growing up and different types of experiences. Like I would look at someone and I would put my intention and I would see what was wrong with the person or what's going to happen the next day. It was things like that. But as I grew up, I was like, wait a minute. So is there like, am I strange? Am I weird? you know, you start to like, how do I know I didn't make this up? How do I know I didn't have some flaw in my brain that gave me that? You know what I mean? I wanted to kind of understand what it is that happened. So of course in college, I was like, I got to study psychology to make sure I don't have some brain anomaly or some sort of psychological trauma. And, so of course I went through school and grad school, and it was, of course, I realized nothing was wrong. And it had nothing to do with the brain or the psychology. It had to do with consciousness.
Mm.
So then I, of course, also understood that the reason why I had this organic experience at the age of 5 and later on organically is because we're supposed to do it organically.
Mm.
So instead of like going out and researching, what this guy had to say and that person had to say, I would try to understand like what did my brain do? What did my body do? What did my energy do to have that opening? Like
Okay.
that. So that's how I got into the field of consciousness. I put myself, days and days and days into this type of meditation and that type of meditation and a different type of meditation. And what is this meditation doing versus that meditation? Like really, really understanding and experiencing what frequency is, what energy is, what conscious, all of that for days and days, like for hours, I would sit. Eventually, of course, I ended up understanding and seeing and downloading and everything else. So I created methodologies for meditation, for healing, for expanding your consciousness, for, tapping into this and that, reading energy. And that's kind of how it's gradually and naturally led me into this world.
Well, you are in the right place when it comes to sitting down for hours and meditating because you're on the Pyramid Meditation channel. Part
Exactly.
Part of this, the discipline is to sit quietly and to breathe, but also it's not just pyramid in name. We actually wear a pyramid on our head and have that
Mhm.
scalar energy go in. I have about an 8-foot tall Russian pyramid sitting right here made of orgonite that I sit inside while I wear that, while I listen to binaural beats. Because meditation is so important, I talked with one of the top geneticists in the world. He was actually on my show before. And I asked him, I said, Kashif, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is meditation for longevity? He said, it's the most important thing. The most
Yeah.
important thing. You have to know yourself, or else why are you here? And so when you say that, it just reaffirms really that the people who do the work are the ones who actually have the results and have the ascension. And that's what PMC or the Pyramid Spiritual Society movement, PSSM, is all about, is actually taking the time to do the work, to know yourself, to go inside. And that's how we actually grow. So with Omnium, what really inspired you to create the Omnium method, and really, how does it differ from other meditation practices?
Yeah, so like I said, I would hear people saying, oh, when I meditate, I feel expanded or I feel the universe. And I was like, I wanted to understand the mechanics of it. Like,
Mhm,
I'm like a scientist. I'm not a mainstream scientist, but I have a brain like that. I want to understand why and how. And so I would be like, well, how do they know that that's the ultimate way of being? Like, where are they? And so, like I was saying, I would put myself through hours and hours of quieting and focusing on different layers, so to speak. Like, let's say, what does my physical body really feel like? What is this vibration? For
mm,
example, what does my liver feel like? What's that vibration? Well, how does my heart feel? Like I would sit hours and like trying to discern. And I realized that every single thing, all aspect of life is energy and has a frequency. And so I was like, okay, well, if everything has an energy, so my whole body is a kind of a set of frequencies, is its own signature. You have your own signature. So, what is the signature of the planet? So, I created this methodology where you bypass the human mind
mm,
thinking, and it's a specific frequency range. I realize it's a minimum of 734 hertz to a thousand hertz. When you bypass that and you get into that range, you're outside your human, like, logical thinking. And
okay,
from there, you are now tapping into merging with, because it's all about merging with the frequency of whatever it is you are tapping into in its pure form, because
mm,
you're outside your human analytical brain. You're not saying, oh, it's a tree, therefore it should blah blah blah. Like, you're not talking in your pure state. You are merging with the pure state of the tree, for example. So I would do that with the tree. And then, because I realized that's the best way to get out of your own projection
mhm,
expectation. So that's kind of how the method works. You get into that vibration, then you merge with the pure aspect of the tree. Then I tried the planet, then I tried the moon, then Mars, and each one had its own, like I said, its own frequencies, very, very unique and very different. And then I got to the planetary system. I was like, oh, even the whole collective of the planet felt
mm.
very interesting, already more expanding. But then I got to the planetary system, and that was very interesting. Then I got to the galaxy. I was like, oh, okay. Then I got to the universe.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, now I know where I need to be. So that's how my method was like, is based on the discernment of different frequencies and spectrum of frequencies, and allowing you, basically, I realize that the ultimate frequency is what I call source.
Mhm,
So
okay.
what is source? I finally got to a place which, I mean, there is no such thing as center of the universe. It's not linear, but it's kind of like if you can imagine a hub, which is the purest form, like it's like if there's a before and after, I would say it's before creation, before emergence of life form. It's like pure, pure energy.
Okay.
And so when I tapped into that, that was it.